They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave.
I can hear it now. They should have never done that. They could have just arrested her. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, ICE agents fatally shot a woman that tried to weaponize her vehicle to run over law enforcement. And no, she wasn't trying to flee. She was purposely doing this. But the fact that I already know there's going to be people protesting this shit is absolutely fucking wild. But I don't know how many times people gotta keep saying this shit. Stop fucking with these federal agents, because you're gonna end up just like this woman. You can't go out here doing shit like this and not expect anything to happen to you. Because this woman put her nose in business where it doesn't belong. And now look at her. But she was an apparent watch out. Somebody that lets people know when ICE is around. And you want to know the most fucked up part? Is now her family's gonna have to bury her for doing something she could have completely avoided. And I get standing up for something you believe in, but when it goes to this extent, it's no longer something you believe in. You are now a fucking terrorist. So if you haven't seen this, go look it up. If you have seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from whatever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter HDoc Stories. Now let's talk about this. You might think that it is a joke, but I don't know if you've ever heard of this African tale of the monster. You see this woman, she kept feeding the monster, but now the monster was done hiding, and now the monster wanted to hit her babies. Oh, let me give you a story, a short story before getting right into the video. I'm gonna let you watch the video, but for the context, let's hear the story. Now, there was this woman. This is an African tale. There was this woman. This woman, there was a scenario, there was a case where people were complaining about their goats and sheep being eaten by hyena, right? And so the people of the village decided that today, what we're going to do, we are going to chase down, we are going to track down this hyena and kill it, right? And so this tracking started. And people started chasing the hyena. So amongst the places where the hyena was running towards, it ran inside a woman's house. So when it ran inside the woman's house, the hyena came and asked this woman, hey woman, I'm being chased. I'll be dead. Please help me. Hide me, right? And so the woman decided to hide the hyena. So when the people reached the woman's house, they asked her, have you seen an hyena passing around? People are carrying clubs, people are carrying swords and everything. They were trying to chase this hyena down, right? So this woman denied and saying that he didn't see the hyena. So this is what happened. The villagers left. They kept on chasing. Now, after the dust has settled and everything went cold, it became at night. And the hyena came out from its hiding point inside this woman's house. The hyena asked this woman, I'm angry. What do you have to offer? The woman said that I only have porridge and I've fed my baby. The hyena said, you know, this is what you have to do. You have to give me your baby because I'm hungry. What happened? The hyena ate the woman's baby. This is a perfect case scenario with white Americans. Black people warned you all about that this will happen, but now the system is turning against your own. The system is eating your own, and this is happening in front of everyone. This is history. This is history in the writing. And I hope these are one of the biggest lessons that white people will ever learn. So let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. As you know, again, I'm your number one host and presenter hygienic stories. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back.
ICE just shot and killed a U.S. citizen. It was stated that the woman is from Minneapolis and she was there to protest ICE. And she was told to leave, so she was trying to back her car up so that she could do as they told her to, and instead the ICE agent was on the side of the car, which MAGA has already tried flipping this and saying that he was in the front and she was trying to ram him with her vehicle, but instead he was actually on the side of the car where there was no harm that could have taken place, and he shot her at point blank range 4 times. And people watched this happen. They watched him shoot this woman 4 times in her face. These are not people that fear for their lives. These are people that are literally hunting humans. They have a lust to kill. And anyone who's against them or Trump is fair game. I honestly think it's necessary to make sure that if you are a person of color, if you are a minority, if you are against Trump, that you arm yourself. Because I fear that this violence is only going to ramp up. Condolences to that family that has been affected and to anyone that had to watch such a disturbing and tragic incident happen right now.
Absolutely horrific news is coming out of Minneapolis today, where an immigration official shot and killed a woman. Now, according to eyewitnesses, this woman was a legal observer who was following immigration agents around the city, and when they began to conduct a raid, she found herself in the middle of it. They were telling her to leave the area, and she was attempting to comply when one of these immigration officials stepped in front of her car, leaned across the bumper and across her hood, pulled out his sidearm, and fired 3 or 4 shots through the windshield directly into her. She then accelerated down the road about 100 feet, slammed into a telephone pole, and slumped over the steering wheel. Now, there's no known condition at the time I'm recording this of this woman, and there's only eyewitness accounts. DHS has not released a statement. Now, Governor Tim Walz has said publicly that his team is aware of the ICE-related shooting, and in the meantime, he is asking folks to remain calm. The Minneapolis mayor has also confirmed this shooting, but it appears that this was targeted by an immigration agent against a legal observer who was there attempting to make sure things were done legally, and he murdered her in cold blood.
Wow. All hell has broken loose in Minneapolis, where a woman was unalived by an ICE agent.
Who's reporting on what is happening on the ground there in Minneapolis, is confirming that today ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters, he say, began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. An act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots as a response. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. Thankfully, the ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries, and we do pray for them.
Now, according to witnesses, this is what happened. According to a video from the scene, a man heard gunshots and ran outside. The wife of the victim, who was in the car, is sitting on the ground nearby with a dog, visibly in distress. In the video, she is heard saying they had stopped to film. She yelled something, and then moments later, the agents fatally shot the woman. What happened next is even more alarming. A man identified himself as a physician attempted to approach the scene to provide medical assistance. He repeatedly tells agents that someone medically trained needs to intervene, that the victim is bleeding, and that a doctor is required to assess or pronounce death. Instead of allowing aid, agents point guns at him, threatening him, and force him to back away, leaving the woman shot inside the car without assistance. Eventually, medics arrive and remove the woman from the vehicle. And this is what DHS has said about the incident. Today, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting a targeted operation when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and safety of public, fired defensive shots. He used his training and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. The ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries. This is the direct consequence of constant attacks and demonization of our officers by sanctuary politicians who fuel encourage rampant assault on our law enforcement, who are facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an increase in death threats. Wow. This is Trump's America, ladies and gentlemen. We are attacking one another in the name of what? Doing what exactly? What exactly is Donald Trump trying to prove in Minneapolis by sending unqualified, untrained, hate-filled people there to terrorize American citizens? Wow. A woman has lost her life at the hands of Donald Trump. Between this and the Epstein files, what a huge disgrace this is.
So there's some pretty horrific breaking news out of Minneapolis today. There was an ICE-involved shooting. And here's a witness statement of what happened. So a witness to Wednesday's shooting in South Minneapolis told NPR News that she saw a federal agent shoot a woman several times. Emily Heller lives near 33rd and Portland, and she said she woke up to a commotion outside of her home. She said that she saw a car blocking traffic on Portland Avenue that appeared to be part of protest against federal law enforcement operations. Heller said that she heard ICE agents telling the driver, a woman, to get out of here. She was trying to turn around, and the ICE agent was in front of her car, and he pulled out a gun and put it right in, like his midriff was on her bumper, and he reached across the hood of the car and shot her in the face 3 or 4 times, Heller said. Heller said it appeared that the woman accelerated and traveled about 100 feet before striking a utility pole and some other vehicles. She could be seen slumped over in her car. Again, this is just breaking, so details are very limited at the moment. I will try and bring updates as I hear them, but share and follow along for more.
ICE agent shoots a woman in the face and kills her. That is the headline coming into the Don Lemon Show newsroom out of Minnesota. According to officials in Minnesota, a federal agent believed to be an ICE agent has shot a female protester in her car while she was trying to turn around. Again, these are initial reports. The city of Minnesota is asking people to avoid the area where they were shot. The governor, Tim Walz, is asking for calm, and the mayor of Minneapolis is asking or demanding that ICE agents leave and saying they stand rock solid with their immigrant community. So again, this is the breaking news. It is just coming in, but according to reports, an ICE agent has shot a woman in the face, fatally wounding her. More details as we get them into the Don Lemon Show newsroom, and more details on Lemon Live at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Twitch, or you can get us on social, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and also Substack. We'll see you then.
An ICE officer has unalived a woman in Minneapolis. I just feel like anyone who signed up to be an ICE agent, an ICE officer, I feel like anyone who signed up to do that literally just wanted to be violent. Like most of these ICE officers just probably want to be violent towards immigrants. That's literally what it looks like, because this woman was driving away and the ICE officer shoots into the car and unalives this woman. And then the car, swerves out of control and hits something, and then it stopped. But it's like, you didn't have to actually unalive that woman. I think these ICE officers go out there and just literally have dreams of doing these violent things. And now that they have this badge and they feel like they have the authority to literally cause harm to other people, that is what is happening. And it's literally being carried out in multiple different places. Like, this isn't the first instance of ICE basically doing something where they're harming the people that they're supposed to be gathering. And it wasn't the woman resisting arrest. She was in the car. She's driving away. And I understand that because obviously ICE is a whole situation you don't even want to be around anyway. She's driving away and the ICE officer shoots into the car and unalives the woman. I genuinely believe that these ICE agents literally sign up because they know they will be able to cause harm and they will have protections in doing so. Because they're being told to literally do anything they have to do to get these people. And then they're choosing violence. This is not okay. It really isn't.
A federal ICE agent shot a U.S. citizen through her windshield in Minneapolis, and the details coming out of this makes this even more disturbing. So, according to witnesses on the scene and video footage, she was in her vehicle following ICE instructions and attempting to drive away when an ICE agent fired through the windshield and struck her in the face multiple times. Not after running someone over, not while accelerating towards others or toward officers while trying to leave. DHS is already trying to reframe this as self-defense, claiming she attempted to run over an agent. But witnesses who were physically there say that did not happen. And this distinction matters because shooting through a windshield at a person who is complying is not a gray area. It is absolutely unacceptable. Firing into a windshield is almost guaranteed to be lethal. Glass fragments become secondary projectiles. A gunshot wound to the face means catastrophic bleeding, airway compromise, brain injury risk, and death in minutes. So this is not crowd control. That was deadly force. And here's the part that should bother everyone. Instead of immediate outrage, we're watching officials argue narratives. We're watching people wait to see how DHS explains it away. That silence is dangerous as hell. So if federal agents can shoot someone through a windshield while they are trying to comply and the response is hesitation instead of fury, this will keep happening. Not because it's justified, but because it's being tolerated. Not enough people are mad enough yet.
If that ICE agent isn't persecuted to the fullest extent of the law for murdering a woman in broad daylight in the middle of the street in front of several witnesses for the crime of following their orders, which was to move her car out of the way, which she was doing, if they don't persecute him for murdering her, then what does that mean? That was a rhetorical question. It means that more so than we thought before, ICE can move through the world with complete and total immunity. They can come into our neighborhoods, into our towns, into our cities, into our homes, into our cars, into our children's schools, daycares, it doesn't matter. They can go wherever they want and they could execute you in the middle of the day, in the middle of the street, in front of dozens of people, and it won't matter. Is that the kind of world you want to live in?
This is what the immigration crackdown just turned into. An ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. Not at the border, not in some remote facility, in a residential neighborhood. Federal authorities say the woman was driving when ICE agents surrounded her vehicle, and they claim she tried to run over officers. She was shot inside her car. She died at the scene. This happened during a massive immigration crackdown launched by the Trump administration with 2,000 federal agents deployed across the Twin Cities, an operation tied in part to unproven fraud allegations including Somali residents. Since this began, Minneapolis has been on edge. Now it's crossed a line. After the shooting, protesters flooded the street. People screamed at officers. Whistles blew. This shooting happened just blocks from immigrant-owned markets. Officials say it was justified. Neighbors say it was absolute chaos. And now a city already scarred by police violence is watching federal agents patrol its streets. There is no such thing as routine enforcement anymore.
An ICE agent shot a woman in the face several times, killing her on the scene in South Minneapolis as she was attempting to comply with the orders of the ICE agent. According to witness testimony that was given to Minnesota Public Radio, ICE agents in the middle of conducting what they deemed as the largest deportation event in history. A woman was caught in the crosshairs, was being told by the ICE agents that she could not be in the area and that she needed to turn around. In the process of her attempting to do this, the officer reached his gun into the window and shot her several times. Another witness described having a gun drawn on them for just trying to check the victim's pulse. State and local authorities have been made aware, and on the scene, it is being reported that ICE fled the scene once the Minneapolis Police Department showed up. The mayor of Minneapolis, in responding to this event, once again made it clear that he does not believe that ICE should be in Minneapolis and is demanding that they leave. This event is happening with the backdrop of all of the rhetoric that has been happening around immigration in regards to Minnesota lately, specifically with the Somali community, and the president of these United States ramping up that rhetoric regularly by spewing and repeating lies. A right-wing YouTuber who went and lied on his YouTube, making national news in the process. And so you have a large-scale disinformation campaign happening about members of the Minneapolis and Minnesota communities being spewed by the right wing. You have the president of the United States not only ramping up that rhetoric, but using particularly incendiary rhetoric about the state of Minnesota, just as recently as yesterday, about the governor of Minnesota, about a recently deceased Speaker of the House for the state House of Representatives in Minnesota. And people living in the United States are experiencing the terrorism that is coming from the White House and ICE agents that has led to people, both citizens and non-citizens alike, being detained and deported into places that they don't know, and has now come to the point of civilians attempting to comply with orders being shot in the face. And it's just another example of the war that is being waged by the Trump administration against blue cities and blue states. Make no mistake, this is fucked up. I don't know how else to say it besides that. But as more details come out, I'll be sure to share them. But in the meantime, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
ICE just shot a woman in the face and unalived her. She was trying to get away from the scene, wasn't in the path of any ICE agents. They shot her and killed her. They did CPR on her for a good minute, apparently, but she didn't survive. So my thing is, ICE is out there shooting people, so people have the right to protect themselves, right? They have the right to protect themselves, the Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. So all I'm going to say is, y'all know y'all Second Amendment. Listen, people who don't have their license to carry, get it. I've been telling y'all this for a while, because clearly they're just doing whatever the fuck they want, trying to start some type of civil war. And listen, they doing it in Minnesota. That propaganda for Somalis in Minnesota that's been happening for the last month, this is what they paid for. This is why. So they can go out there and kill people. This is what the police have been doing. This is what ICE has been doing. Listen, now they taking it up a level. Shooting and killing people. So just be aware of what's going on. The bystanders rushed to help her, by the way. Not ICE. They were walking over to the car when she crashed into another car. So yeah.
So if you haven't heard, a woman was shot and killed in South Minneapolis by an ICE agent today on the corner of 34th and Portland. And that is important because George Floyd, almost 6 years ago now, was murdered on the corner of 38th in Chicago. I'll add a little map here so you can see that they are blocks away from each other. And since George Floyd's murder, South Minneapolis, Powderhorn, Uptown, that entire region has gotten a terrible rap, right? Crime went up, police left, the city intentionally destabilized the neighborhood and allowed businesses to fail, to watch this neighborhood suffer. And I am passionate about it because I live in this area and I've watched it suffer for years now, and it's finally been on the rise again. It's been trying to come back. Smaller businesses have been opening, local businesses have been supported more than ever, and then suddenly ICE comes in and they shoot and murder a woman in South Minneapolis. And already, within hours of this happening, I am seeing posts, my roommate is letting me know about posts that her friends have seen about people saying that South Minneapolis is dangerous and this is why she will never take anyone else's words for it, and how it's Murderapolis, when both times these have been outside agencies, the Minneapolis Police Department or ICE agents, coming in and wreaking havoc and violence. And then South Minneapolis is deemed as Murderapolis, when it is not the people doing this to each other. It is outside agencies coming in and doing it to the people. And it's infuriating to hear people talk bad about a neighborhood that I have grown to love deeply, who know nothing about how this community tries to operate despite being abandoned by the city over and over and over again. They go online and they post their opinions about this with zero fact. And they sit there in their Suburbans and call us Murderapolis and have no idea the community outreach and development that has happened despite the police department and despite ICE.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and grab a seat. This is breaking news and this is serious stuff. I'm not even going to ask you to go ahead and grab something to drink because we absolutely do not have time. What I want to make sure that you are aware of, if you have not already seen the news, you are hearing it directly from Brownstone Worldwide. We have a breaking and deeply disturbing story out of Minnesota. An agent with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or as we know them, ICE, shot and killed a woman during a federal operation in Minneapolis. Now, federal officials say the shooting was justified. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the agent fired in self-defense, claiming the vehicle involved posed a threat. But that official account is being strongly challenged with video footage that I myself have seen. Video from the scene, now widely circulated, has raised serious questions about whether the use of deadly force was absolutely necessary at all. And local officials have publicly disputed the federal narrative, saying that appears in the footage does not match the claims of imminent danger. And we know how this works, right? Yeah, we do. A U.S. senator has stated the woman who was killed was a United States citizen. And it doesn't matter if she was or she wasn't. She was human. She was a human being. And if confirmed, that fact alone raises urgent questions about accountability, jurisdiction, and the use of force by federal agents on American soil. Because right now, folks, we ought to be pissed as hell that they have as much force, and the use of force that they are using is out of control and has been since the beginning. So let's be clear. No court has ruled anything yet. There has been no independent completed investigation released to the public at this point. But when video evidence contradicts official statements, the burden is on authorities to explain what the hell happened and who's going to be held accountable for it. Let's talk about that. Fully transparently and truthfully, what happened. So this isn't just about one incident, folks. This is like a culmination. And if you think this is going to get any better, pay attention. I need you to start paying attention. It's about trust. It's about oversight. We've been saying this over and over and over since 2025 of last year, since before then. And the limits of federal power that seem not to have any. And here's what gets me. I have said it once and I'll say it again. One thing that I know is that everything that begins ends. And when that happens, be prepared to answer for your actions. When deadly force is absolutely used against anybody, and we've seen that, any kind of force, especially during immigration enforcement, the public deserves answers, not talking points. Period. So we're going to be watching closely for the release of the full video, independent findings, and from people on the ground and any federal or state investigation outcomes. Accountability is not optional in this one, folks. Accountability is something that everybody is going to have to give an account for each one of themselves, myself included. For more news and information that you can always use, head over to brownstoneworldwide.com, Cityscape Radio, and you guessed it, Brownstone Living Magazine. We'll see you around.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from whatever you're watching me from. Again, I'm your host and presenter, Tech Stories. Let's talk about it. Now, you understand that Minneapolis is a symbolic place because it became global reference point for exposing the brutal nature of modern policing. Understand that when Black people protested, mourned, and demanded reform, they were often dismissed as being emotional, radical, or anti-law. So many white Americans believed the systems was flawed, but ultimately necessary and crucially that it worked for them. So what recent events reveals is that the same machinery, force, indifference, and escalation does not magically become human. when pointed in different direction. The monster has no moral compass. It only has permission, precedent, and power. Black people weren't predicting revenge. They were warning about inevitability. Let's talk about it. So, the core warning of black people was always about structure, not individuals. Systems trained to dominate, to suppress, and to dehumanize cannot selectively switch off these instincts. Once society accepts excessive force as order or surveillance as safety and punishment as justice, the threshold for who qualifies as a threat keeps expanding. And now this is what is happening to a majority of white Americans. Protesters become enemies. Journalists become agitators. Poor whites, mentally ill people, immigrants, and even average citizens suddenly find themselves on the wrong side of authority. So black Americans recognize these patterns because they were the testing ground. The system practiced on them first, right? So there is also a psychological dimension that many ignored. When white Americans accepted or rationalized brutality as long as it targeted black communities, they internalized a dangerous lie that power without empathy is stability. But power without empathy always demands for more fuel. It needs new enemies to justify its existence. It needs fear to survive. Eventually, it turns inwards. The same tactics, once dismissed as not your problem, become unavoidable. And now at this point, the shock isn't that the system became cruel, it's that people believed it was never. So, what even makes this moment especially jarring is the realization that proximity to whiteness does not guarantee immunity. Class, conformity, and silence were assumed to be shields, but systems do not reward loyalty forever. They reward obedience until obedience is no longer useful. Black people understood this because no amount of compliance ever saved them. Respectability, patriotism, faith, and service did not protect them from being targeted. The warning was simple. If it didn't protect us, we did everything right. It won't protect you either, because black people tried to do everything right in their place, in their space, in the most way they can, but it still didn't work, right? So this is why many black voices respond to these moments not with surprise, but with grim recognition. The devastation now felt by white Americans mirrors emotions black communities have carried for decades. That's fear, that's disbelief, that's anger and grief. The difference is that black people were told their pain was exaggerated or deserved. And now, when the system reveals its teeth more broadly, the reaction forces an uncomfortable reckoning. Maybe the people who suffered first were also the ones who understood what the system does. So this is a perfect case scenario. Let me go back to my story. The same teeth that the hyena showed those sheep and goats that belonged to the villagers, it is the same teeth that the hyena showed to the woman when it said that, but this is my only baby. So this is what is happening to the white Americans. But hey, no one is celebrating what is happening. No one indeed is celebrating. But understand what we're trying to say. We are trying to say that we warned you all about all these issues. We warned you all about all these things. And right now you're seeing them happening. Most probably you asking yourself this question. How you wish you could have listened to black people. Same way that woman asked herself, how I wished I asked the villagers and told the villagers the truth. Because now the hyena was angry. He's been hiding throughout the day. And now he's getting out, he's angry. Because at the same time, he's also fearful that he might be caught out. So he needs fast food. The only fast food that was there was that kid, or was that baby that was eaten. It is sad, but that's an expensive lesson. That's a tough lesson that white people had to learn. So, brothers and sisters, I really don't know what you think about this video, but please let me know what you feel and think about this. But until then, let me see you on my next video. As you know, I'm your host and presenter H Stories. Wishing you a happy weekend from wherever you're watching me from. Till then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.